Boatworks Today is sponsored by Total Boat and Alexial Yacht Coatings, as well as supported by the generosity from the beautiful folks over on Patreon. Thank you so much.
All right. So welcome back to the shop, everybody. I hope you're having an excellent weekend. Now, in last week's video, if you happen to catch that, I ended up closing things out with a little bit of a mystery to solve, right? So basically, I went into it with something that was going to be seemingly pretty simple and straightforward, and things went sideways, it snowballed, and it ended up ending in just an absolute train wreck. Now, that is not the first time that something like that has happened to me, and to be quite honest, I hope it's not the last. Something that I find kind of interesting, interesting is probably the best way to describe this, is that after all of the years that I've been doing this, working on boats, you know, at this point it's going on 22, 25 years, something like that. I kind of lost track. But every now and then, even after all that time, I am still learning something new. Now, granted, usually it's not something that's like earth-shattering or anything like that, but the devil is in the details, and that is exactly what happened in this situation. Now, if you have no idea what it is I'm talking about, here's a short story. So basically, I was trying to get this transom in this entire area prepped in order to start mounting the support knees for the Armstrong bracket. So I started doing all my sanding, tried to do all my cleaning, and in the process of sanding the actual transom part, I realized that the glass that I had laid up on here, I looked it up 2 years ago, was still not fully cured. Now again, I did use laminating resin, but you know, my experience has always been that over time, eventually even a laminating resin will eventually, you know, fully cure. For whatever reason, that was not the case here. So as I started to sand, it just basically smeared, gummed up the paper, created a hell of a mess, and I had to abandon that and realize that, okay, in order to sand this, I'm gonna have to fully cure this glass. Now, my typical way of doing this is to coat it with, typically it's gel coat that contains wax, and I've never really had a problem with this. The gel coat is a little bit thicker viscosity. It seems to fill in the texture of the 1708, and it just works great. And for whatever reason, nothing cured. And when I say nothing, I mean absolutely nothing cured, to include the gel coat that I had laid up. Now, this created a little bit of a problem for me, right? Because I didn't know where exactly the problem lay. I didn't know if it was the fact that the gel coat was old, which it was over a year old. I didn't know if the MEK, or the methyl ethyl ketone peroxide, the hardener for the gel coat, I didn't know if that was old, because it's been in that bottle for quite a while. I didn't know where exactly to look. So I did 2 different little experiments here. I mixed up some fresh polyester resin with the old MEK that I used when I laid up the gel coat on this transom. I also mixed up a batch of the same gel coat that I used on the transom with some new MEK, just to see what would happen. Now, while I was applying the gel coat on the transom here, I emphasized one particular point. You remember this? Now, I'm going to be laying this gel coat on pretty liberally, because gel coat, for one, it's a polyester resin, and polyester resins need to have a certain film thickness in order for it to fully cure. So if you just put it on here paper thin, it's not going to cure. Wax, no wax, doesn't matter. It's not going to work. Now, coming into this, the only variable that I was confident about was the fact that I had my mix ratios right, or that the gel coat was catalyzed correctly. So I had poured out 8 ounces of waxed gel coat, and then to that 8 ounces, I mixed in 5 cc's of MEK, which would catalyze that gel coat at 2%. So getting back to our little experiments here, just try and troubleshoot kind of where the problem may lay. Now, this is the new polyester resin. Again, it doesn't matter that it's not white or gel coat. It's polyester is polyester, it's just whether it's pigmented or not. It's a simplified explanation. But this was new polyester resin, and I used the old MEK. This was the same MEK that I used when I catalyzed the gel coat for the transom. And well, lo and behold, solid as a rock. Okay. So to me, that tells me that it wasn't the MEK that was old, right? Sample number 2. I mixed up some new gel coat, or I'm sorry, some old gel coat. So this was the gel coat that I used on the transom, but I used some new MEK. And Lo and behold, fully cured, everything is looking great. So it's not the gel coat. So at this point, I was a little confused. If the gel coat wasn't bad and the mech wasn't bad, well, where else do I got to look here? Now, lo and behold, this is the cup that was left over from when I actually coated the transom. So this is the original gel coat with the old mech. And this is now cured as well. However, while that was encouraging, it did not fix the problem because, well, the transom still didn't shoot. So now at this point, I was down to one last variable, and ironically, it was something that I had already talked about, which was the thickness of the gel coat that I was rolling out. Now, this is something I've done 1,000 times if I've done it once, and it's always worked flawlessly. Now, in the past, I've always been very meticulous as far as I don't stray from things that I know that work. That comes right down to using the exact same materials all the time, every time. Well, this is something where I kind of strayed, right? And I guess that's what I get for trying something new on camera. So little quick history on gel coat. Now, polyester resins in general, whether it's the resin that you're going to be wetting out fiberglass with or if it's actual gel coat, polyester resins need to have a certain film thickness in order for that to actually happen. And that magic number tends to be right around 20 mils. Now, people try to correct me on this all the time. I am not talking about millimeters. 20 millimeters is what, like 3/4 of an inch, give or take? I am talking about mils, which I believe is like 1,000ths of a millimeter. So to kind of give you something easily to relate to here, 20 mils is roughly the same thickness as, say, 5 or 6 sheets of standard printed paper. That's it. We're talking pretty thin. Now, when I was rolling out the gel coat on this transom, I was using a very heavy or thick nap roller. It's probably like 3/4 of an inch nap. And I never use these rollers. I've got a bag of them. I got them for dirt cheap a long time ago. And the only time I ever use them is when I'm actually wetting out fiberglass, because they work well for that. They hold a lot of resin, and they just, you're not constantly having to reload the roller every 5-10 seconds. So I've used them for that. But this was the first time I've used those heavy nap rollers for rolling out gel coat. Typically, what I use is a very short nap, like an 1/8 inch mohair, and that has always worked. That's always been what I've used in the past. My theory going into this is that what I think was happening is that the heavy nap roller, while it was coating the surface, it wasn't filling in any of the texture of the 1708. It was turning it all white, but there wasn't any build. Whereas if you're using a very short nap roller, it's acting more like a trowel. Yes, if it doesn't, there isn't enough thickness of the roller there to kind of push in and fill any of the texture, you need to physically fill those low areas with the gel coat in order to get full hide. So that is what I think is the difference. Now, again, I don't know that for sure. I did do some test samples on both the far port and the far starboard wings of this transom. I came in over last weekend and I de-waxed it because my original gel coat contained wax. So I removed that wax and then I went over top of each of these port and starboard wings with a single heavy coat of gel coat that contains wax, just to see what was going to happen. Now, I haven't looked at this yet, but I'm dying to do so. What I think is going to happen is that this was the cause of my problem, was that the gel coat just got applied far too thin and it couldn't cure. All of my test samples, to include the original gel coat that I mixed up, cured flawlessly. So I think that's where the problem is. But only one way to find out. I need to sand these wings and see how that turns out. All right, now, I will admit, never in a million years did I think that something as insignificant as the type of roller would make the difference that it did. But yet, here we are. But I will say, on a positive note, at least this is going to be an easy fix. I was not looking forward to having to strip all of this old gel coat off. I can still use what's here. I need to clean it up a little bit, but then I can go right over top of it and everything should do what it's supposed to do. Now, for cleaning this surface, before I start laying up some additional gel coat, I'm gonna be going over it with a de-waxer. Now, this is not a job for using acetone. Acetone does not cut wax. It's a good cleaner in general, but it does not cut wax. You want to be using an actual dedicated de-waxer. So that's what I'm going to be using here. One other little point in case I forget to bring this up here later. Now, just as a little bit of perspective here, when I mixed up the gel coat that I put on this transom originally over the whole thing, I mixed up a total batch of 8 ounces. Now, for these 2 little wings that I did on the port and starboard side, they're less than a square foot each, right? I put up a little over 2 ounces of material just on each of those little patches. So I went through roughly 4 ounces of gel coat just on these little wings, compared to 8 ounces over the whole thing, which is, I don't know, maybe close to 20 square feet. I kept on mumbling. I don't think I'm gonna have enough gel coat. Damn it. This is just not my week. And well, I was right. I was right by quite a bit. So I'm gonna mix up a little bit more than double of what I did that first time, and I'm gonna be using the short nap roller. So let me get this surface wiped down probably 2 or 3 times. Let the solvent flash off. We're gonna mix up some gel coat, then we're gonna recoat this. All right, I feel pretty good about this. I ended up rolling out, I think, 3 coats total, but I used up all that 16 ounces that I mixed up. So at this point, I'm on hold until this stuff cures. I'm gonna give it a 2-day cure over the weekend, and I'll come up on Sunday and do initial sanding and prep and get everything ready so that I can hit the ground running on Monday to try and get these knees put in, glassed in, and done, and then I can move on to something else. So with that said, what are the takeaways here? 1, if you've got some material that is even borderline questionable, again with poly, anything that's, roughly a year or so older, do a small little test batch, make sure it's gonna, kick off and do its thing. Number 2, fortunately, it wasn't really much of an issue for me today, but it very well could have been, is don't play chicken with the temperatures that you're working in. Again, with polyester, generally, what you're gonna find online is that 65 is considered like the bare minimum. Normally I keep it closer to 60. I always mix it at 2%, and I've never had a problem up until now, but temperature really wasn't an issue in this situation. Number 3, if you're gonna be rolling out gel coat to cure a surface, use a very short nap roller or just a brush. Dogpile the stuff on and just eliminate the possibility of running into the same problem that I ran into here. Luckily, this was pretty easily managed, but it took a little bit of a process to get to the point to figure out what in the heck was going on. So I'm gonna do a little victory dance. Finally, I got something to celebrate. Nothing went wrong this week, so I'll take it. And with that said, I'm gonna end this week on a high note. So as always, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found this interesting. And if you did, hit that thumbs up button. If you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Thank you in advance, I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to leave those down below. I will do my best to follow up with you. And as always, I wanna thank you for your time. Thanks for watching, have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next week.
This has been a Boatworks Today production.